Lara is a champion of speaking up and creating spaces where women and men feel equally respected. She is a co-founder of the Safer Dance Spaces initiative and has been social dancing predominantly in salsa and kizomba for over a decade now. Lara, it's fantastic to have you with us. Thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you, Robbie. I'm excited to be here today.
Yay. Could you start off by telling us how you got into dancing?
How I got into dancing. So I got into dancing while I had just moved to Newcastle upon Tyne, up in the north of England. And dancing was really a way for me to meet new people um, and, explore a new hobby. So I started with some Groupon voucher with a colleague of mine. We
Yeah.
went to a couple of classes and then, this was the end of that. I've been dancing since, and it's been, as you just said, over a decade. So yeah, time does go quite quickly.
Well, thank you, Groupon.
Exactly.
Cool. And if you don't mind, I'd love to jump straight into it. Can you please tell us a bit about Safer Dance Spaces and its origins, and then your fantastic work with Climb Against Sexual Abuse as well?
Of course, my pleasure. So Safer Dance Spaces is an initiative that was sort of born during lockdown, at the back of some effectively sexual abuse scandal that occurred in the scene, and there was. I think there was a live organized on Facebook to discuss what we were doing in this space in terms of like the responsibility of event organizers, dance school owners, teachers, and so forth, when it came to effectively looking at safety of the members and the attendees. I was not actually part of the live, but I did watch the live afterwards, and I had a lot of comments, had a lot of things to say, which I did. And it was great because they then invited me for a conversation, and this is how we started Safer Dance Spaces. And Safer Dance Spaces is an initiative that is dance style agnostic. So we do not focus on any specific dance style, but we do focus on partner dancing because partner dancing adds a risk to sexual abuse just by the nature of it. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that elsewhere it doesn't happen. And this is something that I really always like to preface with, which is sexual abuse happens absolutely everywhere. And that
Mhm.
is why it happens in dance communities, not because of the dancing. But there
100%
are,
agree. Yes.
exactly, yeah.
It's everywhere.
But there are some factors, obviously, in the dancing or in the way that dancing is taught or the way that dancing is advertised and so forth that could effectively increase this risk. But so yeah, but we're not dance style specific. We are global, and we welcome members from all over the world. And they can be organizers, they can be teachers, they can even be dancers. And what we effectively provide primarily is a space for education. So there is a 3-hour induction that you do in order to join the initiative. And then once you've joined the initiative, you effectively get access to a lot of material that we've compiled for the dance scene. So that will include things like a code of conduct for anybody who you're recruiting, any artists, photographers, DJ, whichever, rules of engagements, some posters with regards to awareness, quite a lot of supporting material with regards to disclosure response and how to approach this. So there's a bunch of very useful stuff in there that is meant to support anyone joining SDS to effectively implement these things into their day-to-day and to therefore, make change happen.
Yeah.
Because we did realize that it was really difficult to just start everything from scratch by yourself. So this was really our way of saying, you listen, we are happy to put the work in up front on behalf of everybody else, but we really do need you first to get educated on the matter and thus the induction in the first instance.
Mm. And you guys really do all of that work. You're all dancers or organizers with other lives going on. This is additional. You're fitting it in around work life, dance life, family life. Is that right
Yes,
for
yes,
everyone? Yeah.
we are very much volunteers, and
Yeah.
this is why, sometimes it takes time to do something. The bigger SDS grows, you know, the more we have to respond to queries, because also one of the things that you do get is access to the steering group for any queries, for any advice, etc. So the more it grows, the happier we get, because we feel that we're making a larger impact, but also the harder it is to keep up with things. So this is why we really hope that our members act as ambassadors as well, and effectively that we really all take responsibility and behave a bit more like a community within a community. And then, you know, it just means that the more we grow, the safer and braver our dance spaces are going to be.
100%. And this is something that we really, really need it. And if I were to see the Safer Dance Spaces logo promoted at an event, that immediately is going to make me think, oh, this is a place where I can talk about these things, where I can perhaps approach an organizer. It opens that conversation, even if it's just seeing the Safer Dance Spaces being present at an event or a festival or whatever it may be.
Exactly. That's the aim, is for it to be recognizable and for you to be able to feel that, okay, so I may be able to actually speak my piece here in a safe way. And I'm going to be heard. Now, of course, if this is not the case, and if for some reason, you know, who knows why, I mean, I'm not suggesting that this happens or that it will happen, but you never know. We're really keen on being really careful about these things.
Yeah.
If there is a case where there is you have seen a Safer Dance Spaces logo, and for some reason things have not been handled properly, you always have access to the steering group of SDS too. So on our page, you can see the SDS members charter, which is effectively a document that stipulates all of the responsibilities of the members. So after doing the induction, you know, we need written confirmation from our members that they are going to follow these rules of engagement, because obviously we can't be putting our logo onto, you know, anyone and everyone. The whole point is to make sure that these people are committed, and we're very happy
want to engage. Yes,
exactly, and that they're doing it for the right reasons, right? So this is why. But so far we're really happy with our members. They are outspoken, and you know, they won't know everything, but this is why we're here. So you know, they will always come back with questions if they need anything in terms of how to handle in situations and so forth. So you know, by and in large, I think it's going well.
Yes, fantastic, and that permeates through again. If I don't know an organizer or don't know who the organizer is of an event, seeing that logo and knowing that they've engaged with the Safer Dance Spaces initiatives and that they're committed to the standards that you promote would make me think, oh, maybe I can talk to this person, because so much of it's not so much of it. We have a lot of small things that happen that don't get spoken about, that don't get reported, and just having you guys doing this it really raises my hopes and aspirations for the scene.
Thank you, Bobby. And you know, one of the things that we do want to encourage people to do is that, you know, if this is something that is important to you, raise it to your local schools, raise it to your local events, and ask them why are you not part of SDS? It might be because they haven't heard of us, because we're not selling a product, right? So we're not going door to door going, do you want to buy this? That's not what we're doing. Which is why the promotion is really about who wants this, who is looking for this. And we do try to use our channels to promote this, but we are not trying to shove it down people's throats, because if you don't believe in this, you're not the right person. But we're hoping that more and more people understand that this is a journey of educate. Nobody knows it all. The human issues are complex issues, and we got to take our time to understand them properly, and learning from each other, learning from other people's experiences, and learning from people who have been in the space for a while. You know, that's effectively what we're saying.
Yeah.
And we're saying that there has been a lot of effort put in to collate a lot of information, to produce a lot of material, to make your life easier. So why wouldn't you join?
Couldn't put it better myself. Why wouldn't you join? So for those who haven't joined yet or don't know much about SDS, it's so worth a look up. So in your recent live workshops, you've had the work of dancers and psychologists coming together and sharing knowledge. And those are really cool. Those are really recent. So if you haven't seen them, go and have a look. They're on YouTube. It's Safer Dance Spaces on YouTube as well, right?
Yes. Yeah. And everything is linked through our Instagram and Facebook pages as well. So you can start there and get onto our YouTube channel. But we just finished editing and sharing a workshop that we held a few months ago now, And it was a very long workshop, but it was open to everyone. So it was free for everybody to join. And it was about a risk guide for partner dancing when it comes to sexual abuse, effectively going through what are the various things that can make it more likely or more dangerous in an event. And, it talks about a lot of different things, including things like alcohol, including things like power dynamics, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not going to recite the whole workshop, but it's there for everybody to watch. Part 3 is getting published quite soon.
Yay.
Yes. And for those who are wanting to join SDS, we are having our next induction on the 25th of April, so not long to go now. And we're always open to suggestions. So, if there is something particular that you want to discuss, just let us know and we can think of how to address this topic. It might be that we bring in other academics, as we've done with this workshop. It might be that we just host an open conversation, and so forth. But we've also had sort of an online webinar, for example, with one of our members, Berlin Salsa Congress. We participated in another webinar in Oslo. So we're more than happy to have this conversation as many times as we need to have it. And, hopefully we'll grow into new things. Maybe we'll do workshops with dancers as well. But, the more support we get, the more encouragement we get, the more people get involved, the more things we can do, really.
You're not a group claiming to know everything. You're a group promoting education and growing as you learn. And that should be or I'd love to see that as the mindset for every dancer out there. So that's another thing I see Safer Dance Spaces is championing, which is brilliant.
It is. And we don't, and also we're not pretending that in 3 hours we're going to get you to a point where you get everything. But, as part of the material that we share with you, there's a folder. You get access to a drive basically with everything in there. And there's a folder with additional resources. And, as we read more and as we find more important and interesting things, we add to this folder. So, it's effectively just a collaboration. That's what a collaboration with the intention of just making the scene better.
And what better things do we need than that? Wonderful.
Yeah, indeed. And we really believe that the most important thing is for people to want it, is for people to be involved. And I always say, vote with your money, choose your events. Who are you supporting? Where are you going? What questions are you asking yourself before going to the event? Are you, and these are important things because this is how we tell organizers that, well, safety is important to us. It's not a bolt-on that, every so often we realize it's not there and somebody has been assaulted or raped or something on an event. Like, this is not how it should be. This should be, the baseline of how we run professional events.
It should be a baseline. And it when you say it out loud, it doesn't seem like that should be a tall ask. That sounds like it should be an obvious no-brainer.
And I don't think that anybody would disagree with this premise, It's just that if you don't understand what sexual abuse really is and what the spectrum of harm is that leads there, you're just going to think that you're already doing this. So I don't think that anybody's maliciously going, you know what, I don't want my place to be safe. But,
no,
it's more about like, well, I mean, isn't it? Surely it's fine,
Yeah.
And often it's a bit of a snowball effect where like little things happen and you don't exactly know that, they're a joke or they're whatever. And then a bit more serious things happen and you're like, well, maybe they didn't, and then it's only when things are pretty serious do you get police involved, you got, people hurt, etc. And this is where you're like, oh, well, where did we go wrong?
Yeah.
And this is why we talk about two streams. We talk about prevention and then we talk about response. So it is these two things, is what can you do to prevent this from happening at all?
Yeah.
But then things will happen because life is imperfect. And then are you equipped to respond to that? So, it's two different work streams.
Yeah, very much so. And it's because those low-level things that you mentioned, those are enablers. Those are what enable worse things to happen. So they may seem low level and they may seem isolated to some people and insignificant or a joke or taking something too seriously. But too many people know from firsthand experience what those escalations look like.
Exactly, exactly. But often it's difficult, to draw the line. And then you're like, well, should I say something? Maybe they should say something. No, maybe they should say. And everybody's pointing the finger at the other person. But
Yeah,
really, it's about every single one of us. And that's when, in the induction, one of the section is very much about active bystanders and intervention and
yes,
what are the different means of intervening and how do you decide which? And so we really think, well, we have tried with this induction really to touch on what we think are just the basic things for people to at least be aware of the ambition
yeah,
of creating safer and dancer and braver dance spaces.
yeah, yeah, safer and braver. What you mentioned with active bystander, that is so important because yes, we want organizers engaging with this, and yes, I want to see them championing safe spaces and equal respect. But then there's not that doesn't absolve the down average social dancer from responsibility as well. If you see something that's not right, feeling empowered to say something about it, it'll be a great place to get everyone to.
100%. And this is when you change the culture. Because, there is a difference between having, all of these sets of rules and having, like how much can an organizer control? They can put a structure in place. They can put a framework in place. They can create a vision that includes for safer spaces. But then if people don't buy into this, if people do not feel involved, then we aren't changing the culture. And what we're trying to say is that we need a fundamental cultural shift when it comes to this. We need to be able to consistently expect safer and braver spaces, and expect everybody to be doing something about it.
Yeah.
And, this is a difference between a community and whatever the other word is, but we can't call ourselves a community if you just dip in it, get what you need from it, and then leave. Like the whole point is you're part of it. You're an inherent part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is a top-down, bottom-up approach. We need both ends in order to reach that beautiful middle where it is safer and braver. I recently said that I didn't feel safe somewhere, and it got taken so out of context. But I should be able to say that and it not be, well, not even that it was taken out of context, it's just that it was spread around as gossip. And that shouldn't be a source of gossip. That should be, we can talk about this. And it's okay for one person.
Exactly.
Yeah. One person can feel okay, another person can feel unsafe. And that doesn't make one less valid than the other. We all have different experiences, but each deserve to be respected. And if someone is unsafe, to be investigated, approach to engage about something, but not to be this is it. Yeah. So not to feel that fear of speaking up means you may not be liked. And that can be
100%. And, I mean, even personally, I have gone through this journey of, initially there was a point where I was speaking up about these things, like way before Safer Dance Spaces, or I was, calling out jokes or whatever. And I was the party pooper, And believe me, I'm not a party pooper. I am 100% a party person, but and I'm very fun, but one doesn't negate the other, And it took a while for this to change. So, the narrative changed from you're a party pooper to, oh, no, be careful. You can't say that in front of Lara, ha, ha, ha. And it became a bit more of we know that when you're here, things need to be different. Two people randomly coming my way and being, you know what, can we talk about this?
Yes.
And it took time. It took time, but it happened. And I'm still in the scene. I'm still, very happy in the scene. I still do my traveling, do my dancing.
And what's more is you've probably encouraged other people to call out small things they may not have called out before.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so. These uncomfortable smiles of like, I know that's not right, but I don't know what to say sort of thing. Yeah. Those ones. Hopefully those ones now can just be like, at least just no.
Just not cool. No.
Not cool.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that hard. And I really hope that through calling out the little things, we will just avoid the very uncomfortable, much more difficult reacting to bad things
Yeah.
situations, you know. But yeah, we gotta get to it. We gotta call out, and the thing is as well is that we gotta call out some pretty high up people because, you know, as we talked about earlier, one of the risk factors is actually the power dynamics. So
Yes.
that means that it's I don't want to say usually, but it can be people of power who commit the abuse, and then because they're in power, they remained. Where if it
Yeah.
was someone else, they would have, you know, they would have been removed, they would have been ostracized from the scene, whatever.
There'll be
But
some sort of
because they are
repercussion.
a name, you know, because they are influential, because they are otherwise liked, you know, they can be
Mm.
liked for a bunch of other reasons. It's not one or the other; they're not exclusive things. They get this impunity. And then
Mm.
all of a sudden it becomes taboo to talk about this. It becomes taboo to call it out. And it becomes harder to just really say anything in this space.
Yeah.
So this is where it is important to start. And we thought it was important to start with organizers because
Yeah.
organizers are those who choose these people. And what we are saying is that if you adopt a safe rather than sorry approach by saying my lineup, anyone who works for me today is going to be, I'm going to need to be convinced that they are in their minds wanting to create a safe space.
Yeah.
Then I am going to write up a set of rules, which is the code of conduct that we have, that explain what exactly we're holding them to.
Yeah.
Because this is a professional environment. We all
Yeah.
sign a contract at work. This should be no different. And why wouldn't this contract include a minimum level of expectation with regards to safety and creating safer spaces?
Yeah. And of course it should. We need powerful voices, and when not powerful voices, but empowered voices want to be heard. And hearing you, especially as a woman, speaking up and saying we can call out this bullshit and we can call out abuse, it's invaluable. And
You know, it can be really disheartening that to see women not being empowered to do that, because we forget that, you know, we hold up half the sky. Like we are not like, we're not, it's not, so, you know, but so that's for sure something that is disheartening. But another thing that is heartbreaking is to see men feel even less allowed to talk about this,
Mhm.
you know, because they're expected to like not care about this bit, you know, that's, you know, sex is always this casual thing and we shouldn't be making a big deal out of it. And what people struggle to understand is that when we talk about sexual abuse, nobody's actually talking about sex.
No.
That is not the conversation we're having. And everyone should feel like they have something to say about this.
Mm.
Everyone should feel like they have something to say about the fact that no means no. Boundaries are to be respected.
Yeah, massively.
Consent is key. Like these are not like this is not controversial opinion
No,
here.
this should be an upheld and championed point of view, or not even point of view, just way of being.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, I find that as well, that a lot of men do, not intentionally, but they distance themselves from this kind of conversation because they say, well, I'm a good guy. I don't do it. And therefore I'm not. It's like a dark, shady alley where these things happen. It has nothing, it's too removed from me. But
And this is why education is key, because
yeah,
it's not.
it's really not. And so there's a comedian, Daniel Sloss, and he had this beautiful quote when he did one of his shows. And he said something like, I believe that all men are good, more or less. But when 1 in 10 men is shit and the other 9 do nothing, they might as well not even be there. And I see that a lot, that there's plenty of decent men who don't feel empowered, who don't feel like they want to engage, who feel like it's a distant thing. It's not something that's happening here in my circle. And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, if women aren't telling you about their experiences of discomfort, abuse, or misconduct, it's not because it's not happening. It's because they don't feel safe telling you, perhaps.
But not perhaps, because I mean, if you look at the actual numbers, the actual statistics of how often sexual abuse happens, if you have gone on in the scene for like however many years and you haven't heard someone talk about this, that means that you're not trusted to be hearing it, because it happens.
Yeah.
It does. But also there's another thing about that I want to mention as well, is that, you know, men can also be on the receiving end of sexual abuse.
Yes.
And there's even more of a taboo to speak up for them, because I like this whole patriarchal
Manliness.
society, exactly, you know, and
you should
toxic
be,
masculinity means that I should be enjoying this.
or
How
that
is
it
it
can't
possible
happen to me
that,
because I'm a man.
yeah, it can
Yeah.
happen to me because first of all, I'm strong, and second of all, I should be enjoying this. This is why I'm getting it. But sometimes, no. Sometimes you're not in the mood to be a piece of meat right now. And it's, you know, and it's even harder for men to find a safe space to say this was uncomfortable.
Mm.
And I've had this conversation with a lot of you know, male dancers who, okay, maybe I haven't had conversation about rape in that sense, but still about like, you know, whether it's harassment, whether it's abuse, and they're like, I just didn't know how to articulate that. You know, I pushed her away, but I didn't know how to articulate the fact that I just felt abused, basically.
Yeah. And that is one of the big things, is working out when you feel that sense of creeps or ick or discomfort, knowing how to articulate it, how to describe it can be so difficult. And this is where information from things like the Safer Dance Spaces group can really help you put names to those feelings or put descriptions to those interactions in a way that does them justice of what it felt like.
100%. We need terminology. We need validation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work in that space. We're just not, you know, the journey's long, but also, you know, there are small things like how we're taught to not say no when someone asks you to dance, and to not leave a partner on the dance floor. Now, of course, in principle, these are great things, because you don't want to be in a snobbish place where like everybody's saying no to everybody, where people are looking each other up and down before taking a dance, where advanced dancers are not dancing with beginners. All of these things are very important. However, we also need to be able to say, no, you made me feel uncomfortable last time.
Yes.
We also need to be able to be on the dance floor and feel a hand going somewhere that you don't want it, move it the first time, and then the second time be like, sorry, I'm out. Not even sorry, actually.
No, yeah, not even
Bye.
sorry. Goodbye.
Nobody's sorry.
Yes.
But we, you know, but we are not creating these spaces where it's okay to do that.
Mm-hmm.
We still live in a world where doing this is being a bitch, or whatever the word is that people, you know, choose to use in these cases, which is uncalled for.
Yeah.
Where did I sign up to this? Like, I'm here to dance. Where did I sign up to all this other random stuff that I just have not consented to? And why can I not remove myself from situations that are, well, you know, at minimum uncomfortable and at most illegal?
Yes. And that shouldn't be the case. Everyone should feel empowered to go, no, I deserve respect. So if you're not going to respect me, I'm going to respect me. Goodbye.
Exactly. Great quote.
Lara, thank you so much for your time this evening. It has been wonderful speaking to you. You're championing a voice that isn't championed enough in the dance scene, in my experience. And I can only hope that hearing your empowered voice, people will think, you know what, I can say something too. And with the SDS education that you've got ready for everyone to come and take and come and be a part of, I hope we see more and more people doing so.
I hope so too. And thank you so much, Bobby, for having me. Thank you for being supportive of SDS. Thank you, hopefully, for joining the next induction. It'd be superb to have you on board.
I am indeed joining it.
You know, I'm looking forward to more collaborations, hopefully, with empowered dancers. coming together is the way that we're going to face this massive, this massive challenge and effectively, slowly change the world.
Yes, one step at a time. Yes. So just a reminder before we go, though, the next induction for SDS is on the 25th of April. That's a Thursday. You can sign up on Facebook is the best way, I believe.
Yeah, the Facebook event is probably the one that has all of the information.
Yeah, cool. So make sure you go and check it out. Thank you for listening to the Empowered Dancers podcast. If there's an aspect of the dancing you would like to hear about, or a particular teacher you would like to hear from, drop me a message and I will try to make it happen. Make sure you subscribe to get every episode as it comes out. Thank you so much for the comments and questions you are already sharing. I really, really appreciate it, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.